All right, it's my honor and privilege to have Rabbi Lati with us. Baruch Hashem, I got to know him about 4 years ago through somewhere else, not in Los Angeles, and I fell in love with him. Baruch Hashem, he's a big hit on Torah Anytime, and he had the zechut. He told me about a month ago he's coming to LA. I'm like, you definitely coming to our program. And Baruch Hashem, we have the zechut. Without further ado, Rabbi Lati bechavod.
Good morning, Morai Rabotai. Thank you so much, Sharon. It's truly a pleasure to be here. I was here a few months ago, and every single time, Baruch Hashem, I see friendly faces. We grow together, we get inspired together. The topic that Sharon chose for me, I don't know why, but the true meaning of freedom is very appropriate because we're coming right now, Be'ezrat Hashem, to Hag HaPesach, Shabu Alanu Shalom. We have to understand what is so special about Hag HaPesach more than any other holidays. Is it the matzah? Is it the maror? Is it the seder? Getting together with family? We could do that all the time. So what is so special about Hag HaMatzot? So I saw the Mishnat Rabbi Uri. He says, what was the shoresh of the sin of Adam HaRishon? What exactly did Adam HaRishon do? Is it because he ate from the tree? What exactly did he do? So he says, I read you his words, Lo nitrad Adam HaRishon migan Eden ela al kefiyat tova. Adam HaRishon's main problem was that he was ungrateful because he saw everything that Borei Olam created for him. It's not enough you have every single fruit you can eat in the world. Everything's beautiful. You live in paradise, you live in Gan Eden, but it's that tree that I want to eat from. You're ungrateful for everything that Borei Olam created for you. And he continues and he says, and what is the root of the problem of a person being ungrateful? Because Morai Rabotai, this is not only Adam HaRishon years back. Unfortunately, we are plagued with the same issue of Adam HaRishon. And he says, Shorsho bega'ava. A person that's ungrateful, the true source is that he is an arrogant person. He's a person that is haughty. Why? Because I have to admit that whatever I have comes from you, that means I am a small person. So better for me to be haughty and recognize that everything that I have in the world, it's my doing. It's my power. It's my success. It's my intellect. It's my hands. It's my everything. But the second that I am mishu'bad to you, the second that I have to serve you, so to speak, I have to subjugate myself to you, that means I'm no longer ga'ava. I have anava right now. And Adam HaRishon, says the Mishnat Rabbi Uri, could not get himself to understand that everything comes from Borei Olam, and he had to eat from the forbidden fruit. He continues and he says, and in our generation, I mean, he says this years back, but it's very prevalent. In our generation, all the ideologies of kifuyet tova, of being ungrateful, comes from Amalek HaRasha. Why is it, Morai Rabotai? Because look at Amalek. Amalek, you see, Amalek is not only a nation. Amalek is the ideology that we don't need Hashem anymore in the world. And we know Amalek is Gimatria Safek, 240, but it's also another Gimatria. And that is Ram. Resh Mem, 240. Ram means very haughty. I don't need God in my life. Everything I attribute to my success, to my connections, to my doing, to my understandings, to my intellect, to my colleges, to my universities. It's very unfortunate we see it going around today. And this is what we have to do in Pesach. You see, Pesach, what do we do with Inyan Bi'ur Hametz? You know, everybody asks, why don't we make Shehiyanu on Bi'ur Hametz or Bedikat Hametz? It's a once a year mitzvah, so why is there no Shehiyanu? Because the symbolic meaning of Bi'ur Hametz and Bedikat Hametz is burning the Kifuyet Tova inside of you, and that you have to do every single day, all year round. Not once a year. And Morai Rabotai, look at the Hametz and look at the Matzah. Hametz rises, bread rises, the yeast rises, that's Ga'ava. A person rises. He's very arrogant, very haughty. And look at the Matzah. Matzah is very plain. Matzah doesn't even rise. You're not allowed to have it rise. Asur, it becomes Hametz right away. It's very simple. In fact, Hametz is Gematria 138. Kefuyet Tova is 138. Because when you are a kifuyet tova in your life, you are symbolizing hametz. It comes from ga'ava. I'm going to get into something very deep right now, but just for us to understand and put it in perspective. You know, we asked, what was the sin of Adam Arishon? True, he ate from the forbidden fruit. Now we understand it was ga'ava, but there's more than that. If you look at the Zohar Arishon says, the Zohar says that Adam Arishon begged Bishimon Bar Yochai, please don't tell anybody my sin. It's very embarrassing if people know my sin. See, we grew up thinking that the only sin that he had was he ate from the Etz HaDa'at. That's not true. He was pogem ba'olamot ha'alyonot, whatever that means. The upper spheres, the olamot, the worlds. So Adam Rishon begged Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai, please don't tell anybody what my sin is. But the Regel Yeshara, the Sefer Regel Yeshara, he tells us something phenomenal. He says, when Adam Rishon ate from the Etz HaDa'at, he was pogem. He blemished 3 alifs. The alif of Adonai, the alif of Emet, and the alif of Adam. Now, Morai V'Rabotai, if we take the alif away from Adonai, it makes the word din. Alif, Daled, Nun, Yod. We take the alif away, it makes the word din. If we take the alif away from Emet, it makes met. If we take the alif away from Adam, it makes dam. So Adam Arishon blemished the upper worlds, and he brought a pgam, he brought a blemish into our worlds. Now the question is, where did these 3 alifs go? If he got rid of the alifs from Adonai and Emet and Adam, where did the 3 alifs go? You know what happens? Look at Hametz and look at Matzah. Hametz is 138, 3 more than Matzah. Matzah is 135, Hametz is 138. When Adam Rishon was pogem, when he destroyed the 3 alifs of Adonai, Emet, and Adam, he plugged in ga'ava, haughtiness, arrogance, into the matzah, into the simplicity, into the simple life of a person, running after his desires, thinking that it's all, he attains everything is a success all to himself. He becomes a hametz person, a 138 person. We see this in the Haggadah Shel Pesach. If Pesach is all about herut, all about freedom, thanking Borei Olam for bringing us over here to this state, so what does the Gemara say? Mathil bignut umsayem beshebach. You must start the Haggadah by saying, Metehila ovdei avodah zara hayu abotenu. You have to recount that we came from Terah, Avi Avraham, Vaya Abdu Elohim Ahirim. What? If Pesach is all about herut, Morai V'Rabotai, if Pesach is all about recognizing that I'm a free person right now, why do I have to recall that my ancestors were of the avodah zarah? So the rabbis say, Mashal lemah davar domeh. It's analogical to what? There was an ashir walking in the street, and he saw a young boy rolling around in the dirt. So he decided to adopt this boy. He takes him into his house. He bathes him. He feeds him. He clothes him. He does everything for him. Years pass, and this ashir, after taking care of this boy that's not his son, he makes a wedding for him, extravagant, everything, all expenses paid. And in the night of the wedding, this boy comes over to the father and he says, Hazak Baruch, thank you so much. The father turns to him and he says, that's all I get? All I get is a Hazak Baruch, thank you so much? Do you realize who you were and who you are right now? All it is that's it. All it is a Hazak Baruch. You have to recount where I brought you up from. You are nobody without me. That's the mashal. The nimshal is true. We're sitting by Pesach, around with our families, beautiful food, everything's extravagant. But we cannot forget where we came from, Morai V'Rabotai. And if we don't start with metehila of the avodah zarah, that means we are ga'aftanim. We are haughty people. We are arrogant people. We must always recognize, now again, mehila, I don't mean to say anybody's arrogant and anybody's haughty, bar minnan. Just to understand this concept, because sometimes we are plagued with it sometimes in life. I make a good deal, it was me. I bought a fancy car, it was me. I made money this year, it was me. That's ga'ava a little bit. We have to attribute everything to Borei Olam, everything to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. So yes, the night of Pesach, when you're eating all your beautiful foods, you must remember where you were. We were nobody, Morai Barabotai. We were not even a nation. We were Abdei Abodah Zara, Vayabdu Elohim Ahirim, Terah, Nahor, all these people. What did Borei Olam do? He uplifted us. But the problem is, when Borei Olam uplifts us physically, it damages us spiritually and mentally, because it affects our brain right now. Look at the level that I'm on. No, we must get rid of ga'ava and always be anava. And that's why the Haggadah Shel Pesach says, "Dechol harmarbeh lesaper b'siat Misraim, harezeh meshubach b'siat Misraim." Not where you are right now, b'siat Misraim. If you recount and keep on recounting, and the nisim and the niflaot Borei Olam did for us, harezeh meshubach. I want to tell you that last week with the Haskara, the Yahrzeit, the Hilula of the great Noam Elimelech. Rabbi Elimelech Milijan Zechutot Agem Ba'adenu Amin. So he says something amazing. He says, we have a pasuk in Perashat Vayetzeh about Yaakov Avinu's dream. Says the pasuk, Ve'hine sulam mutzab arsa ve'rosho magia hashamayma. Yaakov Avinu has this famous dream. He sees a ladder. The ladder starts down here, and the head of the ladder is all the way up in Shamayim. The Noam Elimelech says something like this. He says, Sulam Samech Lamed Mem is Gimatria 130, Gimatria Sinai. We must learn from Har Sinai. Moshe Kibel Torah Mis Sinai. Not Be Sinai, not in Sinai, from Sinai. Moshe Rabbeinu, the most humble person in the world ever was, ever will be. He learned it from Har Sinai, the humblest of all the mountains. So Sulam, the ladder, is Gimatria, the same numerical value as Sinai. Why? Because when a person is humble like Har Sinai, when a person is Sulam Mutzab Arsa, when I look at the ground and I see that the ground, everybody steps on the ground and the ground doesn't even open its mouth, and the ground keeps on producing and keeps on giving, and we all nourished from the ground. When you are a Sulam Mutzab Arsa, when you're not a haughty person, when you're not an arrogant person, you know what happens? Virosho Magia Hashamayma. That's what Borei Olam wants. He will elevate you to the highest levels if you are a Sulam Mutzab Arsa. You must start here. You must understand, look at the ground, as we say, Venafshi ke'afar lakol tihiyeh. What are we alluding to in the Amidah? We say it 3 times a day. Venafshi ke'afar lakol tihiyeh. I am a nobody. Now, don't get me wrong. Being an anvetan, being a person that's ana, that's humble, it doesn't mean that I have to walk around on the street. I'm a nobody, tattered clothes, don't look at me. No, that's not what it means. It means that I know what I have, but I don't let it get to my head. What, you think Moshe Rabbeinu didn't know he was Pe'el Pe'adaberbo? Moshe Rabbeinu didn't know he was Adon HaNevi'im? Moshe Rabbeinu didn't know he is the ultimate prophet, ever was, ever will be? He knew. But nevertheless, he didn't let it get to his head. That's an avitan. That's a humble person. That's a person that has humility. He knows that everything comes from Borei Olam. In fact, there's a Masechet Derech Eretz. You ever heard of Masechet Derech Eretz? It's not a Gemara, it's a Mishnah. Masechet Derech Eretz says, Oreyach ra' mahu omer, ve'oreyach tov mahu omer. You invite somebody to your house as a guest. If he's a good guest, he walks out and he says, thank you so much. The food was amazing. I can't believe you went above and beyond for me. The oreyah ra', what does he say when he leaves your house? That's all? That's all you have for me? You know who I am? I was expecting 5 stars, 9-course meal. That's all you have? So the Mishnah means oreyah ra' in this world and oreyah tov in this world. If we are good guests in this world, we tell Borei Olam, thank you so much. You didn't have to give me children. Be'emet, think about it, Morav Rabotai. Borei Olam doesn't have to give us anything. You didn't have to give me parnasa. You didn't have to give me food. But you went above and beyond for me, Borei Olam. Thank you so much. That's Shoresh Anava. That's a humble person. But the Oreyah Ra, the bad guest in this world, says, What did Borei Olam give me? The money's not enough. I want more, and I want more, and I want more. That's Orei Ra. And this is what Hag HaMatzot comes to teach us. If we want to escape and break free from all our midot ra'ot, we have to start with true freedom. We have to start with being an anava person, an anaf person. And with this we understand why Hag Pesach is called Pesach and Hag HaMatzot. You look at the Torah calls it Hag HaMatzot. We call it Hag Pesach. The Noam Elimelech brings different reasons. We won't get into it right now. But why is Hag Pesach, as we know Hag Pesach, called in the Torah Hag HaMatzot? So there's a ma'aseh that the rabbis bring with a shepherd, a very simple shepherd. He became the minister of defense. Nice palace, luxuries, amenities, everything going for him. But he had a small room in his palace. And what was in that room? That was the flute that he used to play when he used to walk with the sheep and his walking stick. And they asked him, what's the point of this? Look, you're minister of defense. What do you need that small room for? He says, because anytime I have ga'ava, anytime I have arrogance, anytime I think I'm being haughty, I open that room, I see what's inside there, where Borei Olam, where I was, where I am right now. So I never have ga'ava. That's why Hag Pesach and the Torah is called Hag HaMatzot. Look who you were in Mitzrayim. You were eating matzot. Now, Hag HaMatzot, we don't only eat matzah today because we didn't have enough time to eat matzah. That's true. To make bread, that's true. But also in Mitzrayim, we were eating matzah. Because the whole thing, Par'o Harasha knew when you eat matzah, you're constipated, you can't go to the bathroom. He was a very big hacham. Sorry? That is true. That's what the Gemara says. Well, you don't see it when you eat matzah and Pesach. Let me know after Pesach. Depends on the matzah you buy. Depends on the matzah you buy. Okay, if it's a $60 pound matzah, maybe. But the other ones I'm not sure about. I can't vouch for those. 45? 45 is very good. In Brooklyn, it's like 60 gets to 95. Come live in Brooklyn and then let me know, okay? I'm sorry? It gets up to 60 or it's $95. It depends. It depends on the brain. Baruch Hashem, you spend money from mitzvot, Borei Olam always gives you back the money, Masechet Betzah. Always, Merosh Hashanah, Ad Rosh Hashanah, Borei Olam is katsuv for you, the money. But that's why we eat matzah on Pesach, to remember who we were in Mitzrayim. Forever, if any minute, Haz v'shalom, we start to think that it all belongs to me, it's all about me. We look at the matzah, look where we were, and look where Borei Olam brought us. The Sefer Yitav Lev, he explains in Mishnah Pirkei Avot, Tov Torah im derech eretz. The simple explanation is you must learn Torah and have derech eretz, which means you must work. You must learn and work at the same time. But he explains it like this. He says, "HaTorah yechola lishaer ba'adam." The Torah can only stay inside of you. Rak im derech eretz shemachshib atzmo ka'eretz. The Torah will only stay inside of you if you have eretz, which means if you look at the ground and you say, I am like the ground, I am a nobody. Without Borei Olam in my life, I can't do anything. That's what it means, Tov Torah im derech eretz. You must learn Torah, but remember, don't use the Torah as the Mishnah Pirkei Avot says, Kardom lahbor ba or atara lidgadel ba. Don't use the Torah to elevate your stature or your status or think you're better than people. Never. You must get rid of the ga'ava in your life. Ma'aseh was a 13-year-old boy in Europe. He's learning in yeshiva as a bahud, and it's freezing conditions in Europe. I don't have to tell you, in the summer maybe it's better, but in the winter it's freezing cold. And he always had this debate within himself. Should I leave yeshiva, go back home? I can't, it's too cold, I don't know what to do. One day he gets a letter from his uncle, his mother's brother. And the letter says, my dear nephew, if you leave yeshiva and come into my business, I will leave everything for you. As you know, I don't have any children. I will leave all my assets, all my wealth to you. Think about it and let me know. And after reading the letter, he says to himself, why not? I mean, that's a nice life. I'll go, I'll cover myself up, I'll have some money. What am I doing here in yeshiva? It's freezing cold. And he said to himself that night, I'm going to sleep right now on the freezing cold floor of the yeshiva, and tomorrow I'm packing up my bags and going to work with my uncle. That night he tries to sleep, it's freezing cold, and into the yeshiva walks a lady. And all the bahurim are sleeping except this bahur, 13-year-old boy. And she goes over to him, she says she just got up from a shiv'ah for her husband, and her husband was in the blanket business and comforters and linens. And she says, look, he left a lot of comforters behind, a lot of blankets behind. Can I donate them to the yeshiva? She says, of course. What kind of question is that? Of course you could donate them to the yeshiva. And sure enough, she donated to the yeshiva, and he covered himself up that night and he said, staying in yeshiva. I'm staying in yeshiva. This is the siman, this is the sign from Borei Olam. He wants me to stay in yeshiva. Morai v'rabotai, this 13-year-old boy turned out to be Rav Shach, alav shalom. And Rav Shach says that this lady thought she was only covering me, but she covered me and the students that came after me. Fast forward to 1976. Very rainy day, cold day. Rav Shach tells his gabbai, or one of the students, we're going to a levaya. We're going to a funeral. Now the student thought, okay, it must be a Rosh Yeshiva, very important rabbi. Okay. So they get to the cemetery, and Bekoshi, there's 10 people over there, and it's raining and it's cold, and Rav Shach is over there, Matspeed. He does eulogy, he eulogizes. The whole story ends, they go back to yeshiva. And the student asks him, Rabbi, who is this person? We sit in the freezing cold in the rain. Who is this person? He says, this is the lady that clothed me many years back. But Rabbi, it was freezing, it was raining. He says, because I always want to remember she took care of me when it was freezing and it was raining. I want to repay her. Morai v'rabotai, that is a person that is mishalem tova tahat tova, not a kafui tova. And Rav Shach can do that. Alav shalom. So much more we can do. So much more we have to understand and recognize that everything comes from Borei Olam. We must never be ga'aftanim. Always repay back Borei Olam. And it's very simple. If you always say, Borei Olam, I understand everything comes from you, that is enough. It all starts in mentality. It all starts in the brain. The Maharal in the Sefer Netibot Olam, he says about Midat Anava, about being humble. He says, Zulat hamidahahi, without having anava, I efshar beshum ofen sheyagia el haTorah. You will never be able to grasp the true understanding of Torah. But Rabbi, what do you mean? There's tons of people out there that learn Torah, yes. But go test them when they're learning a very hard sugya and you ask them a question. If they explode, that means they still didn't refine their character traits. If he says, no problem, I'm learning right now something very deep, but I have time for you. That means he's a person that broke his character traits, his evil character traits, and he has the midah anava. Recognizing that nothing belongs to me, that everything I attribute it and I plug it back to Borei Olam. There's an unbelievable story with Rabbi Ben Sion Feldman, the rabbi of Kehilat Nahalat Moshe in Bnei Brak, alav shalom, zecher tzadik v'kadosh bracha. The story goes is that he used to write his Hidushet Torah on invitations. And only after he passed away in the Shiv'ah, his son explained exactly the story. He said, a student came over to the rabbi and he said, Rabbi, I will buy you a notebook. What are you writing it on invitations for? I'll buy you a notebook. So the rabbi said, you don't understand. So many people invite me to their weddings, into their samahot, and unfortunately, I don't have time to go. But the least I can do is use the invitations that they went out of their way to send me and write Hidushet Torah to give them the zechut. This is a person that's thinking of the other person. But if you're a ga'avtan, it's only about me. This past week we read Para Aduma. What does it say, Para Aduma? Metaheret temeim. It purifies the impure. How? Tum'at met, you know the whole story. And what are the components? One of the components we use to be metaheret tameh is ezov, is hyssop. And why? The Gemara says it is the lowest of plant life. Morai v'rabotai, you know what it means, metaheret temeim? Look at the hyssop. Because it's the lowest plant life, that's how you are metahed yourself as you ever become a tameh person. If you ever become an impure person in your thoughts, look at the hyssop. Borei Olam says, take the izov and metahed yourself. But I made the gimatria is a very simple gimatria. Ga'ava, Gimal Aleph Vav He is 15. Ezov Aleph Zayin Vav Bet is 16. You need something above the ga'ava to break your ga'ava. That is why Borei Olam says the Ezov, of course, because it's the lowest, of course, but it's symbolized to us and to teach us that you must do everything in your life if you want to have true freedom. True freedom in your life is to break your bad character traits, because the Gaon of Vilna, alav shalom, says the only reason why we came to the world is to break our bad character traits. There's a beautiful picture of Rabbi Eliyahu Lopian, Zecher Sadiq Vekadosh Bracha, the Baal Lev Eliyahu. The picture is he put a bowl of milk in front of a cat. You could buy the picture in your local Judaica. What's the story? He's giving Hakarat HaTov to the cat. Why? The yeshiva had a problem with mice. So somebody said, you want to get rid of mice? Get a cat. That's what they did. They bought the cat. We got rid of all the mice. And the rabbi said, I have to be mekir tova to the cat. How? Every single day he used to put a bowl of milk in front of the cat. Now I'm not telling you you have to go around to your local neighborhoods and find the cats because the cats are good and they get rid of rodents. I'm not saying to do that. But just to understand how far it stems, or how far it reaches, that we have to be mekir tova to everything that we have in life. Morai v'rabotai, I'm going to end off with this. The Hida says in a Sefer Nahal Eshkol, he quotes a pasuk, Lev hacham limino, ve'lev kesil lismolo. The meaning of the pasuk is, the heart of the hacham is to his right, and the heart of the fool is to his left. Now, last time I checked, everybody has their heart at the very same position in their body. Might be wrong. That's what I think. So what is the meaning of this pasuk? Leb hacham limino. The heart of the hacham is to his right, and leb kesil lismolo, and the heart of the foolish person is to his left. The Hida says something so sweet. He says, in Lashon HaKodesh, Hebrew we write from right to left. If you take the word lev, lamed bet, what is to the left of the letter lamed? Chaf. What is to the left of the letter bet? Aleph. That makes the word ach. Now if you learned Gemara, achin verekin is lema'et. Any time you see the word ach in the Torah, it's lema'et, to minimize. Says the Hida, if you're a hacham, if you're a wise person, you see everything in life to your right. Wow, unbelievable. Look what Borei Olam gives me. Nothing belongs to me. You minimize everything what you have to say, unbelievable, look what Borei Olam gives me. And he keeps on constantly gives me and gives me and gives me. But leb kesil lismolo. But the foolish person always looks to the left. Morai v'rabotai. What is to the left of the letter lamed? Mem. What is to the left of the letter bet? Gimel. That makes the word gam. Says the Hida, a foolish person says, gam, vegam, vegam, Borei Olam, that's all you're giving me? That's all? I want more. It's not enough. Gam. However, we have to be hachamim to see that everything Borei Olam gives us doesn't belong to us. Everything that Borei Olam gives us with abundant mercy and love and care is all because He loves us, not because we deserve it. You know, there's a famous saying, I'm not sure if it's a Breslov saying or Israeli saying, Lo magia li klum. Emet. If you think about that, life is so much simpler. So I didn't make the sale today. Lo magia li klum. So I didn't get that fancy car. I didn't go on that fancy Pesach vacation. Lo magia li klum. Why do I even have? I don't deserve it. Everything's from Borei Olam. So Sharon, I think the true meaning of freedom is to recognize that everything comes from Borei Olam, to break out of evil character traits, particularly and primarily in the midah of ga'ava, to be like that matzah, to get rid of the hametz in our life, to rectify the 3 alifs that Adam HaRishon was pogem, and he brought it down in the shoresh of Amalek, the shoresh of 240, the shoresh of Ram. And Be'ezat Hashem, may we all spend Pesach together, Be'ezat Hashem, very soon. Bibinyan Bet HaMikdash, Birushalayim, Amen ve'amen.